Hi, everybody. We are so excited to have Kerry Doman, class of 2000, here with us today for our lunch with alumni. Many of you probably have heard of Kerry. She has done a lot of amazing things in our community. She has founded and is the founder and CEO of After 5 Detroit and Little Guide Detroit, amongst other things, including her newest platform, virtualinternshipexperience.com. So we are so excited to hear everything that you've accomplished since you've graduated from Country Day, and also what it was like for you when you were at the upper school. So thank you for being on. This is so fun. And I guess we'll just take it from the top. So take us back to upper school, Kerry. What types of experiences were you involved in at Country Day? What sports did you play? What activities did you do? Stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on, first and foremost. This is very exciting to connect with you and anyone else watching. My experience on school, what I remember most is my connection. I played soccer, and that's something I think I will carry with me for the rest of my life. The academics were amazing, sure, but the soccer team, that's where the majority of my memories are held. But I loved it. I mean, now going back, I went back on campus this past year.
Yeah, you were just recently, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, it's unbelievable. I had to be escorted around to even know which way was where. We did not have all of these indoor facilities, and I mean, wow, it is truly incredible what the campus looks like today and what some of the courses they're offering, and it's just phenomenal. I actually wish I was back there now as a high schooler. That just some of the things that they're offering, I was just blown away by.
I know, it's incredible. There's so many new programs, especially within the arts, that have been built out so significantly in the past years. So yeah, it's really cool. What are some of your specific memories from the soccer team that made that such an enjoyable experience for you? I'm assuming you were probably part of a state championship team.
Two.
Right.
Two. Very proud of that. Back to back, my junior, senior years. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's the camaraderie. Any team sports or team settings, I just think that is what you will carry through the rest of your life with. So whether, I mean, it doesn't matter what, if it's sports or arts or whatever, but just that team building and bonding. You know, I am far removed, as you said, my graduation day. I was like, oh, maybe we don't have to say that. So clearly I'm far removed from my graduation date, but I can say that, you know, any opportunity that those in high school now, or as they look to college, and who knows what that looks like, but any way that you can join a group, get on a team, find like-minded people, whatever that activity or engagement is, that is what you're going to carry through the rest of your life. So yeah, two-time state champion. The teams, I was able to be captain my senior year, and I mean, that's just special. The teams were so phenomenal, and meaning the girls on it and the camaraderie that we were able to build.
Yeah.
And when you really look at it, I think one of the most special things is you always think of your 4 years. But in reality, I was fortunate enough to make varsity my freshman year. And so what that means is I had the 3 years ahead of me.
Right.
And I had the 3 years behind me. And so that's, you know, a good amount of women that I played soccer with that I'm now connected with.
So true.
And if any one of those reached out, and I continued playing soccer through my 4 years in college. Okay. I mean, I would drop anything for any of these women. So that's awesome. I can't say enough about the team activities.
Yes, that sounds like it was a really fun experience. And I think, you know, those state championship teams are so, you know that the bond is there, and that's why the teams are usually so successful, is just because of the community that's built there. So that's so cool. Yeah. So you're a junior at Country Day, maybe you're a senior, you're getting ready to go off to college, and you went to Denison,
Mhm.
which is a smaller school environment. So talk to us a little bit about, I know you mentioned you played soccer, so your thought process in choosing Denison for students right now who are either considering colleges or even about to go off to college, our seniors, anyone entering a small school environment. Do you have any advice for someone who's about to enter into that smaller type of environment?
Yeah, I think there's an environment for everyone, and the biggest advice I can give is be honest about what environment you thrive in.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew that I was better in a smaller environment where my teachers knew I played soccer. They asked about the game. They just knew who I was. They knew about me, meaning like they knew my life. They knew what was going on. And translating that into school, I could not see myself in a 300-person classroom
Right.
at these larger universities.
Mm-hmm.
I would have just drowned. It just like
Mm-hmm.
it was not. I knew that, and I was very open and honest about that. And I think that's what succeeded at Denison. I do want to also say that one of the biggest transformations when I went to school, when I went off to college, Country Day is very competitive in
Mm-hmm.
terms of education, right? We are, that's
Right.
what we're proud of. We excel in, but I was a straight B student. I was a
Mm-hmm.
straight 3.2 student. And I remember Mrs. Sandoval, just so you know, like the college admissions, and you're in the office, she's like, I can't do anything with this. You are like literally a
Oh my,
straight 3.2. Like I can't bump it up. It was just like very honest. Like I'll never
right.
forget that, right? Like I can't not, I don't want to say fun, but like I can't play with this at all. You're just like so consistently a 3.2.
Right.
And that's, hey, there is nothing wrong with
No.
3.2, but as we know at Country Day, there are people in my class that are like working at NASA, okay?
Right.
And so I'm like, I play soccer, that's me. But then I went to college, and what you don't realize is how much that environment actually teaches you how to learn,
Mm-hmm.
teaches you that, I think that just how to learn is the greatest gift.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, I get to college, my first semester, and I make Dean's List. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm smart.
Right.
But it just goes, that will always be something that I carry with me as
Yeah.
kind of a funny story, but a meaningful one in that, that it's so competitive. It's so, the environment is so excellent at Country Day that sometimes you may feel like maybe I'm behind, when
Yeah.
in reality, I then went to college and I excelled, and I ended
Yes.
up, and I'll tell you what, there's no motivation like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
after that first semester, I was like, I'll be damned, I'm going to graduate. And I ended
Yeah.
up graduating on Dean's List. And that was the motivation and confidence I needed. But I really attribute to the preparation that Country Day gave me.
I love that story. And I think that so many people can probably relate to that, where you're at
Yeah.
Country Day and then you go to college and you're like, oh, okay, this is like something I can
Like,
really excel in here. Yeah. That's
yeah,
great. So you graduate from Denison, and I was noticing when I was, kind of learning more about your background, you started After 5 Detroit, like pretty soon after you graduated. So I would love to learn about that. What was that experience and process like for you? And then how did you actually go about doing that?
Yeah, so after I graduated from Denison, which is a small school in the middle of Ohio, Granville, Ohio, right outside of Columbus. So, as I'm looking at my graduation date with that, I'm like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? And for me, I was like, I went to a small high school. I went to a small college. Now I want something big. Like now I'm ready. And so, and my brother was in Chicago at the time. And
Cool.
so I went to Chicago right after I graduated, and I got a job. I got a job,
Mm-hmm.
and it was an easy job. I would leave at 5, and it was it wasn't challenging to me, but it was a job. It was something I put on my resume. And in reality, it was really more the experience of being in Chicago.
Right.
So I spent a year in Chicago, and it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I lived on Lincoln Avenue in Lincoln Park and
Cool.
had a great time, lived it up. But
Chicago's
after
so
that
fun.
year, I was done. I was done. I was like, Chicago, check, like first job, check. And then I ended up moving back to Detroit, kind of by default. I just moved back, really just wanted to drop off my stuff and go. But I ended up falling in love with the city. I ended up, the transition after I left Chicago, I got a job that was traveling half the week and doing events throughout the country. And that really just gave me the flexibility and the freedom to explore the city of Detroit on the 3 or 4 days that I was home the rest of the time. So that then translated into the fact that, like, I didn't know very many people. So many people, after they graduated, they went off to other big cities, just like I had done. We call it the rite of passage. People go to Chicago, New York, LA, like whatever, they're off. So I didn't know very many people still back in the area, and I didn't know where to go. And I get the anecdote I always tell is that I was going to Dick O'Dow's every weekend. I was like, if I go here one more time,
I can so relate
I'm
to
gonna
that.
leave. This is like, I need something different. You know, coming back from Chicago, I was like, I cannot keep going to Dick O'Dow's.
Yes.
So that's really where it stemmed from. It was my own personal need of wanting to meet new people, wanting to discover things outside of my normal bubble of Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills. And Detroit was just on the cusp of coming back. It was the year that the Super Bowl was here.
Okay. Yep.
And there was so much excitement, so much energy, and a lot of effort by the city of Detroit, by the mayor of Detroit at the time, to bring new companies downtown. And it just kind of snowballed, where I was like, well, in Chicago, there was this website that told everyone where to go. And like anything from like volleyball after work to this new bar opened up. And I was like, well, if I'm looking for this kind of stuff and I want to network and I want to meet other people my age and I want to know what's going on, maybe other people do too. And that's really where After 5 started.
Okay. And then it basically just expanded over the course of time. And now, I mean, you founded Little Guide Detroit. You also have a internship program. So have those, I'm imagining that you kind of got the idea to start those based on what you were doing with After 5, but can you tell me a little bit about how those got started too?
Yeah, I think my greatest career advice would be just, you always listen, always pay attention and listen. You know, the trajectory of my career has been, I started After 5 out of my own personal need. And where there's a personal need, there might be a business opportunity. So I started After 5 out of my own personal need. And then I was connected to, as I was saying, that there's a lot of activity of these companies being recruited to come downtown and incentivized heavily to come downtown. And this is, 15 years ago, something, I don't even know. No, 16, like 10 to 15 years ago.
Okay.
And so, some of these companies were really making a huge move from like Bloomfield Hills to Detroit, and their staff, I wouldn't say they were very thrilled about some of these moves. Detroit was a far more different place than it is today. And so just by default, someone connected me with a couple of these new companies moving downtown and say, hey, how do we acclimate our employees? How do we get them out of the office? Because what we would see is, 10, 15 years ago, people would drive in the city of Detroit, work from 9 to 5, and at 5:01, they would drive out. They were out, right? Yeah. They would rather sit in 2 hours of traffic on I-75 North than to, venture out and find some place for them to have a drink. So that's where our next business opportunity came from. It's called Connect After 5, and we do monthly events for the downtown corporate community. And basically, we have happy hours. We have volleyball in Campus Martius. We have, we do broom ball and trivia nights, and basically
Okay.
just fun and unique ways to engage their employees outside of the office walls, acclimate them to their surroundings. And it just continued to build over the years of different companies joining on
Okay.
and getting more involved. So we started that. And then honestly, we were in a meeting with about that program with DT Energy, and they're like, hey, we have interns coming this summer. What do we do with them? And I
Okay.
will never forget it. You know, I'm sitting in this boardroom with them, and I was like, I don't know, but let me think on that. It was
Yeah.
just like this light bulb went off. You're like, oh my gosh, like take this model, transfer it to a different demographic, and give me a day. Let me figure this out. So then, you know, I called all the other
I love
companies we
that.
worked with. Like, do you guys have interns? Do you have interns? Do you have interns? And that first summer, we had over 400 interns participate.
Okay.
And last summer, we had over 3,500 interns participate from
That's incredible.
about 65 different companies.
Okay.
So it's just really from them being like, hey, what do we do with these people? And you're like, I don't know, but I will figure it out. And then Little Guide really came about. That was my own personal need again. Little
Okay.
Guide is geared towards families, trying to figure out what to do with their families throughout Metro Detroit.
Okay.
So I now have two little kids, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, two little boys. We live in the city of Detroit.
Okay.
And there was no outlet. There was no publication. There was no online resource that spoke to me, not only as a millennial mom, but as a Detroit mom.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's Little Guide Detroit, we cover Metro Detroit because, you know, I take swim lessons at Goldfish in Birmingham, and
Sure.
we go to Troy Gymnastics on
Mm-hmm.
Saturdays for open gym. So we're very regional in our activities, but I just saw this need of how do we speak to the millennial mom that is looking for things to do? They're working, and most of them are working, or, you know, if they're stay at home, they're definitely looking for things to fill the day up with.
Right.
And that has grown. And we launched 2 years ago, and we are now the #1 online resource for families throughout Metro Detroit.
Wow. That's amazing. So as someone who is managing these different platforms on a day-to-day basis, can you share with us kind of what a day looks like for you, especially for anyone who's considering, any students or alumni who are considering wanting to start their own businesses, especially something that puts out so much digital content?
Yeah, it's nonstop. It is nonstop. The beauty is that no 2 days look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's either a beauty or it's a beast. Some people that is not, they want to go from 9 to 5, do their job, walk
Mm-hmm.
out. That's what I had in Chicago. Couldn't stand it. I used to walk, I tell people, not if you don't know the geography in Chicago, it doesn't make that much sense. But I used to walk from my office in downtown Chicago in the head of Millennial Park. I would walk all the way home to Lincoln Park because I was that bored. I'd just
Yeah.
leave at 5 because my job was done. And I was like,
Right.
well, I got nothing else to do. I'm
Yeah.
gonna walk.
Yeah.
So it's not my personality. I'm not very good at not just being overwhelmed at all times. So that would be the first thing, to really really know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you ever think that the grass is greener when you start a business, you are crazy. If you ever think you're going to make more money, or you're going to work less, or, you know, any of the things you think, they are years down the road, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I am the entrepreneur that's very honest about being an entrepreneur. It is very hard. And, you know, it's incredibly hard. And then you get hit with coronavirus.
Right.
And you're like, this was already hard. I didn't
Yeah.
need it to be harder.
Right.
And we've had to pivot with so much of our content, with so much of our business models, some of which are just moot points at this point.
Yeah.
And don't know if they'll ever come back. So, so I would say that your day, since coronavirus has hit, I have worked harder than I have ever worked before.
Wow.
And I have worked a lot and a lot of hours in my time. You know, since we've had to relaunch, pivot and reimagine our whole intern program. And I have been staying up till about 1 to 2 a.m. every day, you know, and with the 2 kids at home, like that's my from the time they go to bed till about 2 a.m. That's go time.
Yeah.
Not to mention during the day too. So it's been a lot. It always will be a lot as an entrepreneur. But it's on me. I get to decide
right
when I go to bed, right? And so that's it's either me or someone else telling me I have to do it.
Right.
There's no shame in either.
Right, exactly. So you just said this, but you know, Corona hit, and what types of pivots have you had to make? How have you had to reimagine things or be creative with this new landscape that we are facing right now?
Yeah, so we've had to just be very honest and be very kind to ourselves. That was the first, the foundation that I wanted to lay with my team. We had to slim down the team, and the team really consists of a lot of working parents. And so that's where I'm not very gentle with myself. I have very high expectations, but at some point you're like, hey, this is a world pandemic that no one has ever experienced before. My parents haven't even gone through this, so they can't. And even though my parents like to be like, well, we went through the Great Recession and blah, 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 you know, like, you're like, well, you weren't locked in your house with 2 young kids trying to salvage every ounce of income you have. So no, you don't get it. So there's kind of a strength there that you're like, oh my gosh, even my parents haven't gone through this. No one can give us advice on this. But there's also this like, someone give me the answers, tell me how to do this. So I think that like be kind in that, like, hey, you only have so much capacity, and my team only has so much capacity. And when they're sitting at home and they don't have childcare and they have 2 young kids or 1 young kid and they're trying to keep up, like, I got to be really kind, not only with myself and what my capacity is, but what their capacity is too. So in starting from that foundation, we have just quite honestly, we put After 5 on hold. We just, you know, that tells you where to go and what to do anyways. And so we're like, you know what, just day one, we were like, put up a pop-up that says, hey, see you on the other side. But with Little Guide, we have such a strong community. And right now, that means something. It means something not only just to have a strong community can continue to serve them, but also we have a strong community of families and parents. And being a parent myself and going through this, like, I lose my shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I lose it at, you know, several times a week, and I have help, you know. And so imagine all of these families that are trying to juggle work at home, stay at home, kids at home, homeschooling, all this stuff. Like, how can we help them? We need to be we just have to activate fast and pivot even faster. So I think schools closed on a Thursday night. By Sunday night, we had written 35 new articles. And it's just, just shows you, we're just like, okay, we just have to become a machine. And because here we're telling our audience, go here, do this. This is what you can do with your kids out of the house. And now it's like, hey, now we're transitioning totally here. So first, you don't know if your audience is going to follow you because they're used to hearing this. But then second, you're just, you want to be there for them. And so, and they've been there for us. So they have showed us that they're staying with us, that what we're doing, the pivot that we've made there is strong enough, and our engagement has never been better. So that is one way we've pivoted there. Like I said, After 5, we just sidelined that and just made that decision. Like, let's not even make it so hard on ourselves. Sideline that. Little Guide, we're going to just keep doing the best we can. And then with the intern program, that's a huge part of our revenue. That is something we had to protect. But the very basis of that program, we host large scale events for throughout the summer. So that model was not going to work. And but looking at like, hey, how do we salvage this? We have now transitioned to something I'm actually really excited about,
Yeah.
and may actually be something that
Yeah.
bleeds into the rest of our programming moving forward. But it's now we just launched the virtualinternexperience.com. Anyone watching, sign up. You can sign up. It's on me. But yeah, what we're hoping for is that these companies that have either canceled their intern program or have transitioned it to virtual, that they will sponsor their interns to participate.
Okay.
And what we have done is we've basically reached out to our network of top executives, industry leaders, important subject matters, so that we can help engage, educate, network. We can help this next generation continue that, but just a little bit of what they would have actually learned and experienced through a regular internship.
Okay. So what types of things are you hoping will come out? Like, what types of events or experiences will interns have when they're part of this?
Yeah, so if you go to the site, there's a tab that says line up, and we're really proud. I mean, we've literally churned this out, a whole new website, whole new branding, everything in 3 weeks. And last week I sent a note out to our network, and the response from the business community has been phenomenal. The response from these executives that says, hey, can you give me 30 minutes of your time to talk either about your career path,
very cool,
or your advice, or a subject matter that would be of relevance and importance. Will you give us 30 minutes for a Zoom call this summer? And everyone has said yes. It's been unbelievable. So we have, I mean, things that I'm really excited about, like Matt Ishbia, who is the president and CEO of, founder of, president CEO of United Shore. He has recently written a book about basically transitioning what he has learned. He was on the national championship basketball team for Michigan State University, and wrote a book about how he transitioned what he learned on the bench, because he was notorious. He was the last person on the bench, to the boardroom. And so talking about his time playing for Izzo and being on this national championship team to now leading a major corporation in the U.S. So that's one.
That's awesome.
Good friend of mine, Musa Tariq, he is the head of global marketing for Airbnb experiences.
Wow.
He's going to do one about, I mean, he has on his resume, he has worked for everyone from Nike, Apple, Burberry, and most recently where I met him, he was the chief brand officer at Ford Motor Company. And that was his last role, and now he's at Airbnb. He's going to do one all about building a brand, maintaining that brand, transitioning. I mean, Airbnbs, not many people are renting those right now. So how do you transition? But then I also truly feel something that I'm excited about. We would always shy away from this because we're like, no, we're fun, we're social, we do these events. But what we really have found with the companies, and just in my own personal experiences, I truly believe there's this black hole between college graduation and real world. And in the middle, there's this personal development of like, hey, do you know how to do your finances? Do you know what credit is? Do you know how to invest in your 401k and what the difference is of the 401ks? When you get your first offer, do you know what those benefits mean? How to buy or lease a car?
Wow, yes, that's
a mortgage.
So
you know, all these things, you're like, they're not really sexy, but they're important. And these are the life skills that we need to do. So like, you're at no fault to the college. You're not learning these in college. You're not learning these at your job. And it's only to your advantage to understand how to negotiate your first or second or third offer, and your benefits and what comes with it. Like if you don't know, and that was completely me, right? I came from a very educated background. My parents, you know, and obviously I was educated, my parents were educated. And I remember in Chicago, I got my first job offer, and I called them up. I was like, I got a job. And I was like, okay, well, what are they paying you? I'm like, I mean, I don't know. It's like this.
Yeah.
whatever. I was like, I got
Whatever.
a job. And they're like, well, what are the benefits? And I was like, I have no clue. I don't
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
they're like, slow down. Let's like dissect it.
Mhm.
But if had I learned that before the conversation of getting the job offer, I would have come in way stronger and be like, hey, I want to do, I want this, this, and this. I would have
Yeah.
negotiated that. So how do we give these life skills, this professional development, ongoing education, financial literacy? How do we deliver that in a fun way, right? Like as fun
Mhm.
as you can make a Zoom,
Yeah.
but either by it coming from incredible leaders or just those that are straight out of college that's their area of expertise and they can
Mhm.
deliver it in a really relevant and like I said, it's fun and sexy a way as you can make it.
That's amazing. So that's wrapped up into the virtual programming for the
Yep. So
interns.
we'll have daily digital content that features something along those lines where you're either, we have the workshops, which is more like the ongoing learning, but then
Mhm.
we have boardroom sessions where they can sit in on and listen to these top executives, the
Yeah.
managing partners, the CEOs, the
Wow.
presidents of all these local companies and national companies. We're trying to expand it out as well and just learn about their
Mhm.
path and just like this, like what can you garner from a conversation like this?
Exactly. That is so cool. And so this is open to Country Day students, perhaps who have just graduated.
Yeah, please, welcome. We
Okay.
want eyeballs. We want people to participate. We want them to I just have this really soft spot for this generation.
Hmm.
We have this entire generation of high school students, college students, recent graduates that are going to be sitting idle this summer. I
Yeah.
mean, top talent that's just going to be sitting idle at their
Hmm.
parents' house this summer.
Right.
And to me, that tugs at my heartstrings of like, how do we engage them? How do we give them some sort of experience that they can look back on and be like, that, you know what, that wasn't a complete waste.
Right. I
I
got
didn't
something out of that.
lose a summer. I got something out of it. I was able to connect. And also, I should add, we're also trying to instill a little fun in it. So we have some things where, like, Casey Must, she owns Citizen Yoga. She has
Hmm.
3 different locations throughout Metro Detroit. She's going to be doing yoga classes. We're going to have like the beverage director from Grey Ghost in Detroit. He's going
Very
to do
cool.
a cocktail making happy hour.
Cool.
And whether you're 21 or not, I mean, it's just something at least more social and
Yeah.
more social in nature. And so we're sprinkling those in as well to how do we have some
Right.
fun too.
That sounds amazing. And I can't wait for our community to hear about this because I feel like this is up a lot of people's alley. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. I have one final question and something that I've noticed about pretty much everything we've talked about so far today is the power of the networks that you've been able to build. And something that really just struck me was when you were talking about calling on CEOs and thought leaders around this community in this time of need for everyone, but you were able to immediately pivot and utilize those connections. So what
Yeah.
would you say to Country Day students who are just starting out in their path? Maybe they're just graduating from college or high school, maybe they're a junior at Country Day, but the power of a network seems really strong. So I would just be so curious as to your take on how you have cultivated that network over time and what you've delivered on so that now you are able to then call on CEOs and they're happy to give you 30 minutes of their time.
Yeah. I guess simply put, your network is everything. I mean, that's just, you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't treat people right and you don't, it's just like your network is everything. And so I think one of my greatest strengths is knowing what I'm really good at and
Mm-hmm.
what I'm really bad at. And there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of things I'm really bad at. And so, but the key there is then the next level to that is understanding how you can leverage that. So I'm not good at this, but I'm great at this. Do you need this? Because I can give you this, but I need this. So recognizing your strengths and weaknesses and finding someone that their strength is your weakness. And maybe at this time, your strength is not what they need, but if you just have this collaborative nature to yourself, to how you approach business, I think you're going to succeed. And I've just always had that of like, I am here to help. If I can help, I will help. And I think people, you know, hopefully, and I would say to the network that I have been able to build, I think that has become something that I'm really proud of, is that people know that I will help, but then they know that, so that they're more willing to help when I ask, you know? And I think so if you peel that away, a couple things are, you know, find those that can help you. You can't be everything to everyone. You can't be everything to your business. So, you know, be nice to the ones that, be nice to everyone, treat everyone with respect. But really find out what you may need or what you're not good at, and then find those that are good at that. Just be collaborative in nature, and then don't be afraid to ask. That's something I'm not good at, and that's something that most people, you know, whether you see it as a sign of weakness or you're just not comfortable with it, is absolutely something I've had to grow over my career, grow with as I grow in my career, to ask. But it's really nice in a time like this, where literally in 3 days, you know, I started last Monday. By Wednesday, I had a pretty packed schedule. And now some of them are like, everyone's so busy that like, I got an email today, like, yes, I'm in. And I emailed him last week, but it's like, doesn't matter. He's still in, you know, like he's also running a major corporation and he just said yes. So you're like, whether it was an immediate response or over a week, everyone has said yes and been so willing to do that. So I think it's also a unique time right now. And I noticed that of like, hey, if this pulls on my heartstrings, these are the companies that are actually having to cancel these internships. These are the companies, and they don't want to. I don't fault them for having to, you know, and the interns actually, when you look at a survey, they don't really either. They don't really want to go into the office anyways, right? For safety reasons. But it's still a lost opportunity. It's still a lost resume builder. It's still a lost experience. So, you know, hey, can you donate 30 minutes of your time and your expertise and your knowledge and your wisdom to give back? And ultimately, people want to give back. They want to do good. And the other thing I would leave this particular group is, you are the future talent. You're the future talent. Talent is not going anywhere. It's on hold, but they will need you. They will need you. So that's what we're trying to tell these companies is like, hey, we understand that you had to cancel this year. We totally get it. They get it. But don't forget that that's your future pipeline. And they know that, and that's important to them. And so there's a power there. Not that you're not going to have to work. I mean, but build yourself up to be the talent that they want, and there will always be a need.
Yes. So true. I love that. Kerry, thank you so much. This was awesome. I really appreciate you taking 30 minutes of your time to spend with us. So much appreciated. And hopefully we'll be able to see you in person soon.
I hope so. Thank you for having me.